Hello and welcome to Navigating to Success. I am certified focal point business and executive coach Jeff Carlton, and I am extremely happy to have Enrique Rubio with me today, CEO of Hacking HR. Welcome, Enrique.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you so much for inviting me.
So we talked a little bit off camera at first, but so just give everybody an understanding of what Hacking HR does. What does the
Yeah,
company?
yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for the invite. And Hacking HR is a global learning community of HR leaders and practitioners. We bring them together to participate in events, learning programs, and various activities with the purpose of elevating HR, which in our view, the when we elevate HR, when we lift up HR, by extension, we're lifting up everybody else in the workplace. We're creating better organizations. And in all honesty, at the end of the day, it's also creating better societies and a better world because everybody who is an employee is part of society. You know, it's a citizen, it's a family member, it's a neighbor. So if you elevate HR, you make somebody's life better, and hopefully that has positive repercussions for society. So we aim to create a better HR, to elevate HR with all these learning programs and all of these activities that we do uh, here in the US, which is where we're based, but all of them are virtual. So we generally have a very large and global audience. So that's what Hacking
Okay.
HR is.
Right, and so SHRM, Society of Human Resource Managers, is an international organization. Any affiliation with the SHRM?
No, we don't have any affiliation with them, and they are another player in this ecosystem of organizations serving HR. And all of us, at the end of the day, are elevating HR in a different way. You know, they have their own focus and their own style,
Well,
and we
that's the technical side. It sounds
uh,
like what you do is much more holistic.
It's yeah, I think they are focused more or have been more focused historically on the compliance, the side of HR, employee relations. So more of what I call the transactional side of HR, which doesn't mean that it's not important, but it's still transactional, right? And we try
Right.
to focus more on the innovation, on the agility, on the technology, on the future forward sort of thinking side of HR, right? So we're coming from complementary areas, but we're
Yeah.
not the same. And there are many other organizations, by the way, serving HR. We're just two of them, and give people in HR
Yeah.
options to learn and participate.
I love that you used the term agility of
Yeah,
HR because most people that have worked in senior management do not find any agility in HR.
yeah.
They they see nothing but jersey barriers on the side of the highway everywhere they go. So I love that that's kind of the mantra that you do it. Before we come back and reattack some of those topics, tell me how big the organization is. How many employees do you have?
We have about 15 employees. Some of them are in the US, a lot of them are around the world. So we have people in the Philippines, in Venezuela, which is my country of origin, by the way. We have people in Mexico, we have people in Nicaragua, in Canada. So a little bit of all over the place. And about five of us are here in the US.
Okay. So it's and you founded Hacking HR some time ago.
Yeah, it's 2017. So we turned 7 years old back in September of 2024. So yeah, it's been around for a while, and it's creating a new company, especially a global company like ours. It requires a lot of grinding, a lot of effort, and especially in a space like HR, where yeah, you're sort of right with your comment before, which a lot of HR people have not been exposed perhaps to agility or innovation or the possibility with technology to advance HR. They continue to operate in a very transactional and traditional way, and
Right.
kind of like opening a space in that world it's difficult. Even with the name, by the way. Now we are a household name in HR. You know, a mainstream name. You talk to people about hacking HR, and if they don't know me, they know what we are. But when I did this back in 2017, and I talked to a few people, like the very beginning, about inviting them to some of the events that we were doing with Hacking HR, their first comment was like, what is Hacking HR, and why do you even name something like that? Right. So now, we went through a journey of like, all right, now we're a household name. Now people know what we are. But hey, this takes years of building, right? Like
Yeah.
building businesses.
Yeah. Yeah. Brand awareness and education. And well, we just described marketing to some extent. But so let's go back to the foundation. Um, and so I've read your background, but why don't you tell everybody kind of what your background was leading up to 2017 that made you want to start this business?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, right before the foundation of Hacking HR, and for a few years after founding Hacking HR, I was an HR practitioner. So my last role was as chief of staff for a CHRO, and I was in learning and development, and I was in performance management as an HR practitioner. Before that, my first life as a professional is or was as an electronic engineer. That's what I did it in school. I studied electronic engineering. So as an engineer, I love technology, and I still do, and I think very much in processes and projects. That engineering DNA never goes away, even if you're not an engineer, a practicing engineer anymore. But I discovered that I loved working with people. I really
Right.
enjoyed working with people. I didn't want to be in sales. I found HR. I got involved in HR as a consultant and then as a practitioner. And obviously, while being in HR, I discovered that there were many things that we could do better. And this realization came to me, I think, because of my background in engineering. In engineering, there's a very agile mindset, especially electronic engineering, where you have to be like on top of things pretty much every day because things are changing every day. And this was true 20 years ago when I started my career, 25 years ago.
Yeah,
Um,
it's process improvement.
Process
100%.
improvement, you got to be on top of it all the time. You have to be very agile. And having that mindset as an engineer and discovering that was not the case for HR made me think, is there anything that I can do to help elevate HR, right? And having a conversation with a friend, I told him this story that I'm telling you right now. And he said to me, so you're pretty much, you're trying to to hack HR because he's also an engineer. And I'm like, you know what? That's actually the name, hacking HR. That's exactly what I want to do. I want to change HR from the core, from the lines of code that are part of our operating systems, right? And that's how HR came to exist. It was just that realization, but I think it wouldn't have happened, at least to me, if I didn't bring this engineering mindset. So I combined all of those backgrounds and I put them together in this organization. So yeah, that's a little bit of the story.
So how do you blend um, making HR agile with, for those that know HR, and a lot of people that watch this probably would, is some of those guidelines and regulations are pretty rigid.
Yeah,
So is the difference the, are you teaching soft skills or,
yeah, both. We're emphasizing both either soft or what I call human skills to be able to better serve the people that we're serving. But we're also digging deeper into technical skills, right? So we're teaching HR how to utilize technology to augment their capabilities as an HR professional. But let me go back to what you said before. Yeah, there's a lot of regulations and there's a lot of policies and laws, federal and state level and all of that, and in other countries as well. But this is true for every profession. As an engineer, I couldn't do whatever the hell
yeah,
I wanted. Like I mean, you
well, you
you
could once.
you, and then you screw up the stuff, right? Yeah, the first time, and that was it, right? But like as an electronic engineer, even there are protocols that you have to follow to do things, right? If you wanna wire the electric cables in your house, there's protocol. Even the colors of the cables that you use, there are protocols for that. So now, what can you do? You can say, you know what? I'm not gonna run the cable through here. I'm gonna run it over there because over there is a lot more relevant and useful than doing it through here. But you still have to use the same colors. You still have to use the same kind of cable that has some level of protocol, right? So it's the same thing for HR, right? There are things that uh, we have to do because there are regulations in place, but in between, there's a lot of room for change and improvement and flexibility, and that's what we always try to tell HR people. Yes, you have to keep an eye on where the walls are because you can't go over the wall. But within the wall, there's a million things that you can do and you're not doing them. And that's what we want them to. We want them to have some freedom to know that within the boundaries, there's a lot of room to be flexible, to be agile, to be innovative, and we just gotta take advantage of that. And we haven't done so that well.
Let's go back to the to starting up. What do you think? This is for the aspiring entrepreneurs out there. You talked about, the education piece of getting people to understand what you were trying to do and get the brand recognition. But what do you think your biggest challenge apart from that was in starting your own company?
Yeah, that's a very good question. And I guess, I'm pretty sure, Jeff, that I think the statistic goes like 9 out of every 10 new businesses like fail within like 1 year or 2 years, right?
Yeah.
And there are a bunch of reasons for that, but I'm going to break it down to simplest way. First of all, you run out of money. So that's, if you had an infinite amount of money, if your business was a failing business, you would probably do it forever because you don't care about sustaining yourself, right? So there's a money reason behind it. But even when you have the business, maybe nobody wants it, or you don't have enough stamina to make people want to kind of like embrace or like what you're doing. So let me go to the money side first. I come from a hardworking family, so nobody gave me money for anything. Everything that I have built, and I have saved, and I have put my money in the bank account to be able to do what I'm doing, right? But I knew when I created this idea at the very beginning, it wasn't a business. It was just an idea of something that I wanted to do. And when it became very clear to me, hey, this can be my life, this can be my income going forward. I knew that I couldn't do it right away because in my bank account I didn't have enough money to support me for a long time, right? So the first thing that I said was, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna experiment with this idea. I'm gonna see if it works, and at the same time, I'm gonna be saving money to give me a runway of 6 months, 12 months to make this work. So if in 8 months I haven't been able to make this work, well, I'm gonna have to go and find another job because I'm gonna be running out of money. So unless you have a trust fund, but most of us don't, unless you are rich by, from home and your parents are rich, that's not true for most of us. So you got to make sure that you don't start a business without having some level of runway that allows you to really unleash the idea that you want to unleash, right? So that's the beginning of it. Now the second part of it, which is that even if you have some of that runway, very often it happens that we get uh, discouraged when we try to do something and we don't see that our idea is getting traction right away, because we look at you know the Mark Zuckerbergs of the world, we look at the Bill Gates of the world, at the Steve Jobs of the world, Jeff Bezos of the world, and we say, wow, these guys are so successful and I am a failure. Yeah, but they spent 25 years of their lives building whatever it is that they were going to build. If you are doing it for the first 25 minutes, you can't expect to have success in 25 minutes or the first 24 25 hours. So you have to have enough stamina to know that building a brand, especially in a very competitive world, that takes time. So it's a little bit of money in the bank account to give you enough of a runway to prove that your idea will be embraced and will have some traction. But simultaneously, it is knowing that it won't have traction on day number one, that things take time to build. And you have to understand how far you can push, but also when it's time to give up, because sometimes it's time to give up and say, you know what, I'm done with it. It's not working. I'm shutting it down. I'm moving on to the next thing. That may happen too, but a lot of the times people reach that level before they should, right? Because they get discouraged by the fact that their idea is not taking off, you know, a day later after they launched it. So those are the two things that to me, kind of like made a lot of sense at the beginning. And by the way, one last thing, Jeffy, for turning it back to you, Hacking HR is not my first business. I have failed a lot in the past. I created other 3 or 4 businesses, and none of them did well. Like some of them lasted, 2, 3 years. Some of them lasted, a couple of months. I mean, there's experience failing, which allowed me to say, all right, now I have to be more patient. Now I have to have more money in the bank account. I have to have more business stamina. I have to know when to pivot, and I am more chill about this. I can't push something that it's obvious that it's not working.
Knowing when to pivot, and the other one I'll throw out there is fail is not a bad word. It's
No,
first attempt in learning. That's what fail stands for.
yeah, love it. I love
So
it. Yeah.
uh,
Like
so
there was this, Jeff, there was this thing that I shared on my LinkedIn recently, which I can't remember exactly the quote, right? But it was something along the lines of, let's celebrate the people who give up, because sometimes you do have to give up. Sometimes you are pushing yourself to a place where nothing that you, like, whether it is at work, whether it is with your own business, whether it is in a personal relationship, sometimes you do have to give up, because not giving up is killing you, and you're trying to
yeah,
push something that is not working at all, and it won't, right? But you just have to have the stamina and the understanding to know, first of all, how far I can go, and when the time is right for me to say, all right, I'm done with this. It's time to move on. This is not going to work.
yeah, I had an interview yesterday with a gal, and her LinkedIn background banner for her LinkedIn was "Do what makes you happy." And I thought that was great. That's very wise words. So,
Yeah.
tell me about where you're taking hacking HR. What does it look like in a couple years? What's your strategic plan?
Yeah, well, we continue to build learning programs and activities for HR and events, and ultimately the whole idea is for us to build the largest HR community in the world. So I know that's a massive goal. It's more of a transformative goal for the long term, right? So in a couple
There's
of
nothing
years,
wrong with a BHAG.
no, no, yeah. In a couple of years, you and I are gonna talk, and today we are at X amount of people, and tomorrow it's gonna be X plus something, right? And I'm gonna say, yeah, I want to continue building this, right? So to me, this next couple of years are going to be critical for hacking HR, as in we want to expand our community, we want to reach more countries, because we're a global community, but there's a lot of work that we have to do to enter into some markets. So I see the next couple of years as growth. This past year, 2024, I put a lot of time into building our operating capability to grow. So now we have a team. The team is very well oiled. Everybody is very committed to the mission and the vision of Hacking HR. They all know what they have to do, and everybody's making it happen, right? So, by the way, I hope you don't mind. I found the quote that I was mentioning before on my LinkedIn. I want to read it because I think it's pretty cool for your audience. Is it okay if I read it? It's super
Yeah,
short.
yeah.
It says this is the thing. Contrary to popular opinion, quitting is for winners. Knowing when to quit, change direction, leave a toxic situation, demand more from life, give up on something that wasn't working, and move on is a very important skill that people who win at life all seem to have. So I just wanted to say that, because sometimes, hey, it just doesn't work, and it's a win for you when you have that realization. Anyway, it's going to be a win for me in a couple of years if I can say we're going to continue growing this brand. And alternatively, if we have to, like call it quits, which I don't think is going to happen, but if that came to that, it's what it is, right?
Yeah, well, it doesn't sound like that's going to happen. So, are you recruiting any talent right now, or are you looking for people?
We are not, because thankfully last year I spent a lot of time looking for the right people. We are a very small business, we are a very
Very
small
important.
organization, and we only have capacity to have this of the 15 people that work with us, about 5 of them are full time, the other 10 are part timers. Obviously, as we grow, we will increase the hours of the part timers and maybe look for more talent. But I spent a lot of time building what Netflix called talent density. So great people that are the right people for our business. But again, if anybody out there, is looking for opportunities, reach out to me. Whether it is our own opportunity or somebody that I know that is looking for talent, hey, we're always open to that.
Awesome. Well, Enrique, thank you so much for joining me and for everybody watching this episode. This is a great journey explored. Enrique, any parting words before we sign off?
No, this was great. Keep it up. If you're building a business, just keep in mind that you need stamina, you need endurance, and there will be a point in time. There could be a point in time when you have to call it quits. But hopefully for you, that's a long way out in the future, if it ever happens at all.
Yeah, and I'll cap that off with don't be afraid to dream big.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're not reaching past your height, you're never going to stretch. So,
Mm-hmm. Yes,
um,
yes.
thanks everybody for joining us, and we'll see you on the next episode of Navigating to Success.